Hi, everybody. This is Chris, and I am in this game that I've been working on for a long time. Now, a lot of you may have just recently gotten to know me through the festival that I've been working at. I've actually been a concert festival worker for the last couple of months. So I've taken some time off of my work in the VR world and today is my first day back, and we are in a place that I have called Purgatory. This room is called MapRoom, and this is the product I'm making right now, and it's going to take me a long time to finish it. But MapRoom is this wonderful game that allows you to play on a bunch of different maps. Right now, there's only one, and it's called Purgatory. And you're going to be able to play a bunch of different games on those maps, and there's going to be story mode and character development and all the regular RPG stuff, but also you're going to have multiplayer. You're going to be able to do stuff that is not part of the story mode, and so the game doesn't lose its player base as soon as you beat it once, because there's just so much other stuff to do. There's going to be a lot of user generated materials, um, things to play with and do, and so it's going to almost be an open source video game. It is played right now. I'm using an Oculus Quest 2 hooked up to my desktop PC. You can't hear it humming in the background, but I totally can. One of the things is that it's also what I'm seeing here is also being projected on my computer's monitor, and the sound is also coming out of there. So the game sounds don't come through the headset, and they're not in the recording. So normally this would be really loud for you. It's pretty loud in the room I'm in, but it doesn't make a sound that you can probably hear very much. So now that I have talked about who I am and what I'm doing, and shown you the inside of some of this world, how about I take you on a quick little journey? So these are my jetpacks, and we are in the world called Purgatory, and it is so far from done. Most of the land mass is here, and so the topography and geography is all what I want it to be. I need to do some texturing. For instance, this line of grass and rocks, that's not meant to look like that. It's going to be changing and getting updates as I go. There's not going to be a path going through this lake. That's uh, that's a mistake. And so I'm just going through and fixing things one at a time as I see they need fixing, and then I'm building the game on top of the world that I'm manicuring right now. So far, I'm about 5 months into the game. Well, it was 4 months before I started taking time off for festivals. Ooh, I keep forgetting. I was in here earlier today to look around and make sure everything was good, and I forgot to fix this texture. Right now, it's not being rendered properly because of some updates that I installed before I put the headset on today. Because when you work on VR stuff, updates come all the time. The technology is so new that things are constantly changing in the industry, and so you have to keep up with it. And so this morning I installed a month and a half to 2 months worth of updates, and that took a long time. So everything you see in here is stuff I built. The trees I did not design. Trees are purchased, actually. You can purchase and download what we call assets. And that's stuff that other more experienced developers designed to be used with other developers. So I can purchase a pack of trees and I can use them in my game. And I can purchase other things that allow me to do stuff like make the trees move. that wind was actually from a whole different set of assets. And I figured out how to make it work with the trees, which was a bigger deal than I'm letting on. Um, Water is really hard to work with. Right now, my water, I'm still pretty new at this. So right now, my water, when you go underwater, it just disappears. The shadow of it is still here, but there's nothing to look up at. So there's no underwater yet. I made these buildings. I designed them myself. And this one is a pub, and it's going to have a little inn up top. But I made these little bar stools. They took a lot of time to make, and then I was able to make more of them. I made the barrels. I designed barrels and I built them, and they were perfect. And I really like them. And what's cool is you can usually push them around. Oh, did they get stuck in the wall? They're stuck in the wall. Let me take this off because I'm also supposed to be able to grab barrels. This one shouldn't be stuck in anything. Huh. Like I said, I installed a lot of updates to the assets, and it may have changed something about the code that I'm using to make those movable. I may have inadvertently turned them into static objects also. Um, I was trying to do some stuff back before I stopped. I was trying to do some stuff to get rid of some frame rate issues, and so I was making a lot of objects unmovable. I did not do it to the tables. Um, Last I checked, my player could not easily climb stairs. The only way to climb stairs is to look up while walking towards them. But that gives you the added problematic issue of I can use that same function to walk right up a wall. And if I'm really good, I can use it to walk across the ceiling. So that's something that I have to really figure out how to deal with. The bar stools all move, and the mathematics and physics that take place for that set of collisions to happen is massive. So that's why my computer is involved instead of just being an Oculus Quest standalone game. Is I'm doing stuff with this, mainly the graphics, but a lot of the physics are more than what the Quest's little Android computer can handle. And yes, you heard me right. The Quest 2 is basically an Android phone with two screens, and it's mounted sideways instead of vertical. One of the cool things in this game so far, actually pretty much the only cool thing, I've only built one real game thing that is a part of the game. I didn't build that car, but I have worked with it quite a bit, quite extensively. So it's got a lot of modifications. But the one thing that I really did is I made a jetpack race. And it's still a little broken, but it's going to take me some time to wrap my brain back around how I made this so that I can go and do the repairs that it really needs. So I'm going to load the World Circuit Jetpack Race, and you'll see this counter and a percent meter just appeared in my field of view. And this is the high score leaderboard, and it's totally broken. And there's supposed to be a fast travel map here. It is here. The fact that you can see my arrows or my little pointers means that it's there, but it can't be seen right now. So there's a setting that I have to go and adjust on that. Now, a lot of things changed when I did the update. So a lot of the errors like that thing, oh, there it is. It's on the wrong side of the wall. So I just have to move that. And that's basically you just point at the different things on it and it'll travel you to those points. Just, it'll blink you over, a quick teleport. But so what I want to show you is the ring race. This is the World Circuit Jetpack Race. And as soon as you go through the first ring, the timer starts. And those rings weren't there before. We just walked through there. And so let's do the race. A good time for me, my average time is about 235 to 245 seconds. I don't have the counter so that it will count minutes and seconds yet, but as my coding knowledge gets better, I'll upgrade that. Right now, it just counts seconds. So here we go. As soon as I go through the first ring, it starts. There we go. And it took me a long time to get good at this. It's definitely a sport. Like, you don't jump in this and immediately start doing good. If you can get under 350 seconds on your first time, you will probably get good. I'm getting about 240 seconds at this point, which is a lot faster. It comes with memorizing the course and really learning some tricks about how to use the controllers for the different functions. Like I'm using what was actually a glitch that I'm thinking about making a feature in the game, is a constant boost to speed that you can use to really get a lot faster. And there's a couple of cool different things you can do that are really actually hard to do to make you just get immense speed if you have a good straightaway. So this is a game that some people will be incredibly good at, but they'll have bad races. They'll have times when they just didn't hit the button right. This isn't a game that you can perfect. You can't. It's not like Mario Kart where you're going to find that one path to get the perfect top score, the fastest score possible. This is different, where every time you play, the way your body gets carried might be different because you have a whole other axis of travel. You have up and down, and you don't have that in Mario Kart. So you might end up, just going too high through something once, or going the perfect straight line one time because you didn't go up or down. There's ways to take corners that are different than vehicle physics also. Like being able to slide into a corner with this really helps you nail your timing for the turn. The fact that you're not using wheels means that you're constantly moving in any possible direction, and wherever your momentum is carrying you. So it's a little bit like that old Atari or arcade game, Asteroids, I think is what it was called, where your ship is just moving in whatever direction the physics that you applied to it are taking it, because there's no ground, there's nothing for it to get friction on. So the only thing that affects its direction is whatever direction the engine was pointed when you hit the thruster. Wow, I just took that a whole lot better than I ever do. So this is only the second time I've gone through the race since I took my break. So I went through it once and I got a 238, which was actually really good. Back when I first made this course, I got a 238 and it blew my mind. I had been doing like 300s and then I got a 238 and I was like, I'll never beat that. Right now, I think the best I ever got was a 224. And I can usually never do very well when I'm talking. I just got a 234.5. That's a really good score. Now I have a little green health bar here and it's not doing a whole lot. And you see it's kind of jittering. That's a frame rate issue that is currently being had by almost every developer that's using what we call the HDRP graphics. HDRP stands for High Definition Render Pipeline, and it's how you get shadows and volumetric light and fog and if you look in the distance, I have fog. I have it turned way down right now because I was, like I said, I was trying to uh, make the game perform a little better. So I'm having a couple of little frame rate issues. And as I get better at this, I'll be able to isolate what's causing those frame rate issues and come up with a better, more efficient way of doing those things. Or not, and have to remove those things from the game entirely. So that was race one that we just did. And when you finish that, there's this trail. Now, in the real game, I think as soon as you pass the last checkpoint, your jetpacks are going to disappear. These aren't going to be a thing you have through the entire game. They're only going to be there for the races. So you'll then have to walk this path. Hopefully people walk the path. I'm going to try to find a way to incentivize staying on the path. There's going to be a bridge here, but I didn't put it in yet. Just a little one to get you across that gap. Just a plank or something. But then you come up to this next house. Now, we were in a cottage like this when we started the first race. So each race starts at a cottage. And once you finish the first race, the user interface, the UI or the button shows up over here. And there'll be more to it later. I'm just, it's still pretty fresh. So you can load the next race. And so my counter went back down to 0. I'm back at 0%. I have a new scoreboard over here that is also still broken. You can barely read it. I have to change the color on things. And I also have to make it so water isn't visible through it. That's kind of less than optimal. So here's race 2. This one has a cool spot in it where the rings aren't embedded in the ground, where you have some aerial acrobatics to do around a bridge, and it's really a lot of fun. So I'm going to do that race, and you'll get to see what I'm talking about when I get there. Oh, and the fires in these rings. Every time I go through a ring, the fire in that ring goes out. And that's just a way for the player to know that that ring has been passed. Because you can go through the wrong ring and it really, you can't finish the race. I have to find a way to get that right. Right now, if you hit the wrong ring, you have to reset the race and start over again. Whoa. So you really don't want to miss one and hit the next one by accident. Last time I did this race, I did that, and there's a glitch in the way that the races are running that wouldn't let me reset the rings on this particular race. I can do it properly on the first race, but the second one has a thing about it that needs fixing. And it can take a couple of days to fix a glitch like that because the race is actually compiled of 4 different scripts. C# is the computer language that I'm using for this. And so different scripts, which is just a sheet of code, different scripts do different things. And I wrote the ones for this. And it took me about 2 months to write those scripts because I was learning as I went. Oh, here's the cool part. It's really, really actually hard to get this because this one you have to keep turning the whole time. And if you hit a ring, it really messes you up, slows you down. I have gotten through that cleanly before, just not today. But yeah, so the race is made up of 4 different scripts. And so when you change something on one of the scripts, you have to go and change all the parts of the other scripts that are referencing that thing that you changed. So it can get really, you can very quickly get lost in changes. You forget what you changed and what you have to go back and change. And so you just keep starting the game again over and over and looking at the errors and then trying to track down what the error is talking about and then fix that thing and then do it again and find the next error and track that down. And it can take hours to solve a tiny little problem. But once you've been working on the same set of scripts for a week or so, you really start to know your way around in them and can pretty quickly get things fixed. So when you're writing your scripts, it's important to write them all kind of the same way so that they're easy to navigate and you know what you're looking for, and they're easy to remember what you did when you wrote the script in the first place. Now, C# isn't actually all that difficult of a coding language. I learned HTML back in the day, and I took a little bit of time with Python, but I never really did anything with them besides, I made a MySpace page once, and I never used Python for anything, not even one time. But C#, ooh, I got a 221 on that race. It's the same number of rings, but it's a faster race. It covers a wider area, but less actual track distance because it's a lot of turns. But the rings are much closer together in this race than they are on the first one. Mainly because of the number of turns, I wanted it to be easy to know where you were supposed to go. Once you're through a ring, you immediately know where the next one is. Now, at the end of this race, there's also another one of those little cottages, and it's the only thing I've built over here right now. This is undiscovered country over here. I've done nothing with it yet. The other places that we'd been had a lot of development already, as far as buildings and having the terrain in place and, grass where it needs to be. Oh, here's another one of those. Whoa, I'm moving to the side. Why am I moving? That's a really strange thing to have happen. I'm just being pulled that direction. That's never happened before. Did it happen over here? Yeah, I'm moving to the side. It's pretty slow, but it's definitely happening. It's really strange. Does it happen outside of the house? Like if I'm standing in the grass? Yeah, I'm moving. I need to figure out what's causing that because that's messed up. I wonder if it's something with my controller because that is about the slowest that my player can move. So something's happening. But anyway, let's try one of these fast travel buttons. Now, back before I took my vacation to go work concerts, I had been working on these, and one of them got messed up and ended up messing up all of them. And so let's see if it'll take me where I actually want to go. It's not even letting me press the button. Okay, so the UI is currently not operational, and for some reason I'm sliding to the right over there. Now, there's always the chance that I made a glitch happen. Oh, you know what? I can get rid of the counter here. If I go back to the beginning of this race, there is an exit race button. And that'll make all these rings disappear, which you would think it would make the frame rate issues a little better, but it doesn't. Oh, you know what? I want to try this one spot again while the rings are still here. Even though it's not an official race, it's still a lot of fun to get practice in. So I made it so that the rings don't immediately disappear when you go through them, but instead just the fire does. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is going to be a multiplayer game. And when I say multiplayer game, I mean like 1,000 people, most of which you won't know, could be in here at any given time. Now you'll be able to block people. They won't be able to see you. You won't be able to see them. So you could play in here solo, even while there's other stuff going on, because it's all on one big server. Um, but I'm thinking about making it so that when you're racing on this, that you know, everybody else doesn't see the rings. Maybe it's just you and the people who are on your friends list that'll see the rings, and that'll make it so that each person who's playing the game on the server will have a more efficient experience where they won't have frame rate issues just because you're over here playing a ring race. They might be doing something else over there, and they shouldn't be glitching out because you're doing something resource intensive. Oh, I was going to go and turn off this race, and that place is right over here. Now, like I said earlier, most of this game you're going to play without the ability to fly. Or at least that's my thoughts on it right now. I've changed my mind about a lot of things a lot of times already, and it wouldn't surprise me if I change my mind about that. So I'm going to go over and exit the race. Oh, I was saying that there's a thing broken with it, and so if I hit reset race, the counter goes back, but I don't think the fires do. There's no fire there. And that means that this race wouldn't run at all. It's not recognizing that there are any checkpoints. So when I hit exit race, the rings are gone and everything's back to normal. But so as you do stuff in the game, you'll get XP, experience points, and they'll make your character stronger and faster. And I'm thinking about having, magic spells and things like any other RPG. There's a villain, and his name is Broadwell, and I named him after my friend. He's a good buddy, and he liked the idea of being the villain in my game, so he's going to be the villain, or at least the villain's named after him, and it'll probably look a little bit like him. I'm not moving sideways anymore. I'm going back to the spot where I was moving sideways to see if it's a location-based issue, because that's another thing in VR. For whatever reason, I'm finding that sometimes different locations have different issues that affect the player. There's a frame rate issue that is dependent on the direction I'm looking. Like right now, everything's moving really smoothly because I'm not looking in the bad direction. There is a bad direction to look, and so you got to be careful not to do that. Or I have to be careful when I'm designing these. Yeah, see, I'm moving sideways again. You can see it through the crack in the window. Everything's kind of changing, or the crack in the door. The world is moving sideways out there. If you see through the window, you can see the perspective is changing. It's really strange. I don't understand why it's happening. And it only happens here. I wonder. I'm moving slower than the water, so the water isn't having an effect on me. The water never has an effect on me. Like it doesn't even splash. But I'm sliding downhill. That's what this is. There's no downhill over there to slide. I'm not moving here. So you have to kind of walk around and find where the problems exist. I'm moving here, but I move a lot more when I'm in the house. So it's something that the problem grows depending on where I am. It's happening here, but like I said, in the house it was more. And it might just be because of my perspective. There's objects closer to me inside, and there's more things in there for me to gauge my movement based on. You find out pretty quickly how your eyes work and how your brain interprets what your eyes are seeing when you start working with VR. It's a really awakening experience. to create a reality that you can walk around in. Like you stop taking things for granted, like the slope of mountains and the way that dirt piles in the middle of things and the things you're expecting to see. Like when something's off, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And so it takes a lot of work to find out what it's supposed to be, because in real life everything just is what it's supposed to be and you don't have to make any changes to it. Like right now I feel like this grass looks like a little bit of a highlighter. Like it's a little too bright green. Like there's spots over here. Like this shouldn't be shiny. And it kind of is. So, I mean, the grass looks terrible up close, but that's what I had to do to make this work. Um, and as I get closer to completion of the game, more and more things are going to get better. Like there won't be grass in the bottom of this pond. The maple trees, the leaves on them, as I move away, they just disappear. And they're not supposed to disappear. They're supposed to actually turn into a less detailed version of themselves. But instead, they disappear. It's only the maple trees. All the other ones do what they're supposed to do. And as you get closer, they get a higher level of detail, where the shadows come in, and by the time you're there, the leaves are moving. Actually, I think leaves are moving on every tree rendered in the game all at once. I don't think that it would be efficient to stop some because they're too far away. Um, the mountains in the distance, you'll see that there's some things that let's find a better example of this. There's a really good example of it right over there. So if you look at the path going up to, there's these structures on the side of the mountain over here, and they have a path going to them. And so the path is pretty cool when you get up to it, up close, like it's a path. It is what it should be. But as you get farther away from it, the computer doesn't work as hard to render it, and so it uses fewer triangles. It uses fewer lines to render it, and as you get far away, that happens, and it snaps to a different level of detail, is what we call it, an LOD, which stands for level of detail. And so because of the way that mountain slopes, it actually changes the physical shape of the path. So I have things I need to work on with that and just get everything fine-tuned. And as I'm doing that throughout the whole world, I'm also creating new games and new plot ideas and places and bringing in new concepts like the car. And there's a dungeon. It's a whole subterranean thing. Oh, this is the bad direction. I have real bad frame rate issues when I look towards the center of the map. And it's not because of the amount of stuff I'm seeing. It's that there's something literally right down here in this area. There's something non-physical that has its location based here. And if I'm looking at it, the headset kind of bugs out a bit. And it's been really difficult to try to find out what that thing is. But it's been a persistent issue for months. And every couple of days, I take a few hours to see if I can figure it out. And then I go work on something else when I get frustrated. The cool thing about working on a world this big with this many things going on is that anytime I get frustrated, I can just come work on it. Ooh, I need to fix that. I hadn't looked at this. This is a different water package that I've been working with lately, and I just reinstalled it today, and apparently it's not working out yet. But this is the first one that has underwater, and it's still not ready for prime time. Like, I've got a lot of work to do with this to understand what these different components are supposed to do and what settings I should use with them to get the effect I'm looking for. I just reinstalled it today with an update, and so it reset all of its settings. And so this is what it comes out as, straight out of the box. So you have to then dial everything in. I'll get my wave height and water speed leveled out, and I'll get the colors adjusted. And it'll be more like a nice steady pond with maybe a wind ripple going across the top of it. Right now it looks like, a choppy sea cove, and that's not how it should look. And the water shouldn't be white. But I will get that all fixed, and it'll probably take me about a half an hour to get it all dialed in to what it was before, but it still wasn't perfect. The underwater effect really wasn't, I wasn't utilizing it correctly, and I still am not sure how it all works. And there's not a lot of documentation about this particular product to help me figure out what was intended by the developer who made it. Because he's just a developer like me. He's some guy or girl. There's some person who just made a thing and put it on the asset store so that developers like me could buy it. Now, I said that there's a dungeon, and anybody who's familiar with RPGs knows what I mean when I say a dungeon. It's a place where you go and it's full of monsters and treasure and labyrinthian passageways. And you have to fight your way through it. And by the end of it, you're a stronger player. And it's basically a level in the game. This one requires a key to enter. And I had to figure out how to write a code for a keyed entry. And so right now these doors are really messed up, and there's a few of them. It was the last thing that I designed before I took my break. Now there's going to be a whole series of quests involved in getting the key to even get in that door. But for today's purposes, I'm just going to go get it because I know where it is. You won't immediately, as the player, know where to find it. And until you complete the prerequisite quests, even if you did know where to find it, it wouldn't be there when you got there. But I believe I have it stashed right here. There's the key. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to grab the key, and I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to get my jetpack back, and we're going to go try to get through that door. Now, there's a problem with the door right now. It uses an animation to go up, but it uses gravity to come back down again. And so triggering back and forth between using the animation and using gravity still has some glitches in it. The animation is actually moving the door closer to the building, and so it's getting sucked into the wall. So once it goes up, it sometimes doesn't even go up the first time. But once it goes up the first time, it has a lot of trouble coming back down, and it will not go up a second time. So you have to be real careful. Now, I won't need those. There are some spots in the dungeon that I have to use the jetpacks for right now because I haven't yet figured out the right way to go. Now, there's also the question that maybe me touching the stone as it goes up is what's causing it to go into the wall. So I'm going to try to touch it from the side here. Nope. Oh, it started to go up. There we go. It is up. Now I'm going to, it should come back down. There's a trigger pad that I just walked across. It's not visible, but it's just a part of the floor that when you walk on it, the door is supposed to come back down. And it did a bit, but it gets stuck right there on its way down. It's actually sucked into the wall. You can't tell from here, but it totally is. So I'm not going to need this any longer. So I'm going to put it right there. Ooh, look at that. That's really hard to do. I did it once a long time ago, and I'm surprised it just worked out. But so this is the dungeon. This is the broad well, because our villain is Broadwell. I gave him a well, and it is broad. And the water in here is actually just an extension from the ocean. The ocean is one big plain, and I didn't chop out a bunch of sections in the middle because it's actually kind of hard to do. So instead, I decided that anything below a certain level, that's the water table. We're on an island and it's surrounded by water, and that water level is consistent across the entire island. But so you jump down in and you find this place. Now you have to be really careful because that door that I was telling you about before, this place has got some of those. In fact, once you come into this room, there's a door that closes behind you. It's made of ice, I believe, unless I changed it. But once I step on that piece of floor right there, this door that's above me is going to close behind me if, everything still works right. So here we go. We're going to back into it, and there it goes. The ice door has closed. Now, there is no way back through here. It is legit impossible to get through. Your hands can go through, but your body cannot. You can't walk through. You can't glitch through this. There's no way in. This was the first door I made, and it works perfectly. All the others were duplicates of it, and they all have problems. So I have to go through and figure out what to do about that. I may end up having to rebuild all the doors individually, which I'm not looking forward to. Now, once you're in real gameplay, which I'm not, this is hardly finished. Once that door comes down, you've got these two chambers, one on this side and one on this side, and enemies will come out of these, and you have to defend yourself so that you can get a key that will be somewhere in this room, and it'll get you through this door. Right now, this door isn't locked. You can just walk right into it. But above that is another trigger door, another gravity door. So as soon as I come down this, that one shuts behind me also. And that one takes a key to get out of also. Now, there's a problem with this door and that one right there. I haven't yet removed the section of wall that is here. You can't see it from this side, but I assure you it's there. If I walk through it and turn around, you will see it. It looks just like the walls that are in there. It looks just like the wall here. But when viewed from the other side, they're invisible. And I can give you an example of that. This door doesn't do that. But now you can see what I mean, where walls that really are there are not visible when viewed from the other side. So if I go in there, that wall actually snaps into existence just like this. I'm going to walk through this wall because it doesn't exist from this side. It exists from the other side. And so this is what will happen if I go through that door. You get stuck in that room, and I can glitch my way out of there. But it's not easy or fun to do. So up there's just lights right now because it was pretty dark in here. Oh, this is under the world. I haven't built anything to go out. That's the weird pond I was telling you about that I said I updated and it doesn't work right. None of the other ponds in this game look like that from underneath. That's the only one that looks that way. So we're going to go through another trap door or a gravity door right here that'll also be unlocked with a key. Now, this is the spot where I actually have to use my jetpacks to get around in. This is going to be a labyrinth room. Like, this is going to be a bunch of passageways that are difficult to navigate. A lot of stairwells and ladders and things to climb up and down, different enemies that you'll have to go up against while you're in here. But then you come to the spiral staircase, and there will be some more stuff to do up here, maybe a mini boss, or a wave of enemies that you have to get through, or a puzzle that you have to solve before you can get through this one. Then you end up here, and there's not a lock on this door. This one doesn't close behind you. This is the final room in this dungeon so far. I might continue further. That's a giant ice orb, and that's a giant water orb, and they're plot things. I'm not telling you too much about them just yet. But you have this path that you can walk down, this little wooden plank way full of ramps to get you down. And it's actually not to get you down, because you can just jump and fall and you don't get hurt, at least right now. But it's a way to get back out, because like I said, you won't always have the jetpacks. Now, there's going to be a boss fight in this game, in this room. This is where you're going to have to actually come down here and, work really hard, and it's going to take you a bunch of tries to beat whatever I put in here. But once you do, you will be greeted by this guy, and that is your key to get out of this dungeon. So, water orb, ice orb. So we'll run up the plank way. Now there's a timer on the touch pads that trigger the doors. So this way, when you unlock them, they don't immediately fall again. We will get through this quickly. So I'm on the trigger pad, and I'm going to touch this door, and it goes up. See how it's sucked into the wall? I need to figure out why it's doing that and keep that from happening, because if I came out onto that trigger pad again, that door wouldn't move. And I don't want that to be the case. So now we'll come and open this one. And that one did the same thing. It jumped back about 6 to 8 inches. But then we would come to this one, and we could once again get out. That one works perfectly. So if I come out here, I think it's 10 seconds to reset that trigger pad. And there it is. This one works over and over again. The others don't. Also, it doesn't raise slowly the second time. It's using an animation, and so it just goes back to the end of the animation. And I have to figure out a way to make it so it repeats the animation instead. So I don't need that key for anything, but I do need my jetpacks to get out. Oh. So we are now back to our ground floor. There's our old key, which, just in case, we're not leaving it here, because that would get bad in a hurry. There we go. Imagine if that door accidentally closed again and we weren't able to get the key because it's inside. It's like locking your keys in your car. The game does not have a system for getting the keys out of the car. So, I'm just gonna... Ooh. Oh, I forgot. These things have a dumb thing about them that they turn with my head. So... Oh. but I can kind of do one of these and I'll get it back. And then, no, I didn't want that. I want this over here, so I can grab this and put this on here, and now we have them forever. I'm still sliding. I'm wondering if maybe there's something that is poorly calibrated in my headset. My headset might actually think that I'm moving. So I will have to work on that. It might just be, turn the headset off and then back on again. I might have to restart the computer. Like I said, I ran a lot of updates, and I haven't restarted the computer yet since I did that. So yeah, this is the normal pond. This is what they regularly look like. Oop. And so that other one, the whitewater one, is quite different, and I have a lot of work to do on that. But today was my first day back in the headset in a month and a half. And it feels pretty good. I'm still really impressed with what my game's doing, despite the shortcomings it has. The frame rate, the lack of stuff. Like, there's not a whole lot of gameplay in here yet. Right now, it's just a lot of space. But I've worked pretty hard to make those spaces as cool as I can. Like this one here, it gets cooler with more fog. So I am going to bring the fog back. But I cannot do that while I'm in the middle of playing the game. And so I figure I'll just keep where I'm at right now. But so I want to have something cool to do back here, something to make this space worth having. This has got this little spot, and it's just a cliff all the way around. I'm starting to see games that have more grass that's like the trees, where it actually sticks out of the ground. Right now, I'm using textures instead of objects for my grass, and it's keeping my frame rate lower. If I was using object grass, this process would take me a lot longer. So right now, I'm just convincing myself that I'm happy with this, and y'all are going to have to be happy with it too, because I'm probably not going to change it, at least in the first release version of this game. It's going to be that kind of grass. Like, it's going to be this kind of moss. It's not going to be an actual object that I lay down. It's just going to be a painted on texture, because it's going to use a lot less of the processing power of your system in order to run it. Now, some of the things that I'm using in here are not yet available to the public, and they won't be for about 2 years. So I have a lot of time to work on this game before even the technology that I'm using is going to be available to the public. So I'm not in a huge hurry to get this done, because it's not like somebody's going to beat me to the punch. I'm going to make a game that is currently impossible to release. So that by the time it's ready to release, I'm the first one out of the gate, and I'll have a badass, cool game. Now, I'm keeping up on trends and playing other games to keep my ideas fresh and to remind myself that I'm not great at this. Because when you just sit in your own game for a while, you can start to feel like you're pretty awesome. So it's important to go out and get other games in the same genre and see what other people are doing so that you can raise your standard. Don't copy people's work. Use them to gauge your own standard. So I've been playing a game called Zenith, and it's a game about, I'd say their map is about maybe a little bigger than mine, maybe not. It's hard to tell. It feels like it's about the same. This is 4 square kilometers of mainland, and then there's some island stuff out there that probably all totals to about a square kilometer, 1.5 square kilometers. Um, and I think Zenith is about the same. Now they're using a lower quality graphics package. They're using what we call the URP, or the Universal Render Pipeline. And so their ground doesn't really have textures on it like this. Like their ground is like single color chunks. Instead of it being moss blended in with grass, theirs would just be a green mound. So theirs can be played as a standalone game because it's not using the crazy graphics that I'm relying on my gaming computer to handle. And it still doesn't get it perfect. Like, it's still pretty glitchy in spots. Like, those trees are fuzzing out on me as I turn my head. Um, Everything kind of fuzzes out as you turn your head. Um, and the technology will get better. Not in the next 2 years, but better. Right now, this is good enough for developers like me to get the core concepts down and to at least release a couple of cool games in the meantime, while we're waiting for that next wave of technology to come out. But like I said, it's a fast moving industry with a lot of people working on it. And so the speed at which new development comes out is it's a lot faster than you tend to think it should be. Remember in the 2000s when everybody was getting their first phones and personal computers, and everything that you had every like 2 to 3 years was obsolete. VR is going to be a lot like that, and I like what Meta has done with the Oculus Quest 2 is to give it a low price point to get people something that gets them in the market and at least shows them what this technology is capable of and kind of opens the door. Now, there's going to be more expensive ones coming out. Meta will be releasing Project Cambria later this year, and the details about that are not plentiful. So we do know that it's better. It has some new concepts that the Quest 2 didn't have. The controllers are a little different. Um, I'm hoping that it can handle, in a standalone version, the graphics that this one can handle. Now, the Quest 2 is about $300 new out of the box. You can get an upgraded one with more storage capacity for 400. That's what I have. Um, I haven't needed the extra storage capacity. I think it's pretty much for people who are going to record videos like what I'm doing now. But Project Cambria, they haven't released a ton of details, and it's supposed to come out later this year. I want to say September or November is the official launch date. But they've been really hush hush about it. And even though I have technology that isn't available to the general public, I don't have information that isn't available. So, like, all the technology I'm using, you could use too if you were, involved in this software development, the way I am. So, if you had a system to run it on, they'd be like, "Yeah, have some fun, guy or girl. We need people to operate on this stuff so we can test it." And so I'm really kind of a guinea pig for the industry. I'm I'm a rookie who's learning to use difficult software, and so I get to decide if it's intuitive or not, if it's simple enough to use that, I mean, because kids are going to be trying to do this too. Kids are going to be making games. This process is going to get so much more simple over the next 10 to 15 years. Um, and I know a lot of people they're nervous about VR, and a lot of people just straight up don't like it. Every time I see a thing for VR online, you always see the one, the series of comments about I'd prefer just regular reality, and it's like that's great. Uh-oh, something happened. Oh, it's because my battery is low in one of my controllers. Luckily, I have a pair of freshly charged batteries in the chair next to me, but I'm going to have to do that after I leave. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you if you stuck around through this whole video. I hope it's been informative. And next time, I try to make one of these every week when I'm working on VR. I haven't worked lately, so today was more of a refresher. But in my next video, I'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with VR and the technology itself and how it's being rolled out. I'll probably talk some more about things that I'm working on in the game. I'm going to work on that dungeon a bunch. I got to work on the actual game control features, you know, how to start and reset the game for the jetpack races. I want to get some enemies back. I had some in the early development of the game, but recently I've had them out of the game and I haven't been using them because they just kept, you know, bumping into me. Because I'm hard to kill right now. I do have a health bar, but there are very few things that can move it. And that's more of I haven't written the code yet. So, yeah. So right now in the game, the player is invincible. There's nothing really that can kill you. You're supposed to be able to die if you run into the rings enough times when you're doing the jetpack race, but that isn't working right either. So I've got so much work to do, and I'm really looking forward to the next crop of young developers to come out. And I'd love to see some more in my local area, so I have some people to work directly with. I can have, you know, have a developer come over and throw the headset on and maybe write a couple lines of code and help troubleshoot this thing. Build a game with me. Somebody in Ithaca or Trumansburg has to be good at this, and they're just not talking about it. I cannot be the only one. It would blow my mind. So I'm going to jump off this mountain because I'm invincible. And while I'm falling, I suppose now is a great time to call it a day. So I'm going to hit the buttons that do the things. I'm going to hit this, and that's not doing it. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way where I use my mouse on my computer to stop the game. And I'm going to go and turn off Quest Link. I'm back in my dashboard, and I'm going to do the thing that ends the video, and once it ends, it'll be abrupt. You won't even see that I've gone. So in the meantime, you know, stay optimistic about VR. It's going to be a really cool thing. It's already really cool, but the future is very bright. So I'll see you next time. End recording.